Good evening. If you will, please take a seat. We'll get started. At this time, we're going to have our invocation, and Chris is going to have that for us. You can remain seated.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let us pray. Lord, we thank you for allowing us the opportunity to meet in your presence, Lord, and just talk about the business of our county and the future that it holds. And Lord, I just ask for your presence to continue to be with us through tonight's conversation, that you bless our ears with the ability to listen, Lord. Give us discernment and wisdom. Lord, allow us to speak in a way that is pleasing to you. And we ask these things in your name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Chris. At this time, I will call our April Board of Commissioners meeting to order, and I'll ask that you rise as Vice Chair Jerry Langley gives the pledge, leads in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please, cut your ringer off. Try to keep that from ringing. This time we're down to conflict of interest. Does any of the commissioners have a conflict as it relates to the agenda tonight? Any item?
I have a question to ask the chairman.
Yes.
Have you had any conversations and directed any county employees that on issues and items that have not been presented to this board?
No comment.
Then I gather that you're in violation of our ethics practice in which this board is supposed to be informed?
No.
Yes, you are. You're in violation of our ethics policy.
Okay. The approval of the agenda. I'm going to take the item that I had, which is discussion of the Commissioner Richardson's public conduct. The family involved in that asked me to remove it from the agenda. So
They knew it wouldn't fly.
they knew your reaction, I guess.
They knew it wouldn't fly. I'm perfectly willing to discuss it, though.
They asked that it not be discussed.
Then I'm going to have it on the agenda for the next meeting.
Okay, we're down to the approval of the agenda. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Those opposed? Okay, we're down to items for presentation. Dolores?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. We have one Beaufort County employee here tonight to receive his award, and that's Mr. Thomas Salinas. He has 15 years of service with our Sheriff's Office. I'd also like to acknowledge some other employees that are not here tonight. Autumn Brown with Communications has 5 years of service. Samantha Keys with the Department of Social Services has 5 years of service. And Paula Bailey with the jail has 5 years of service. So congratulations to them as well.
Thank you very much, Dolores. Okay, we're down to the public comments, and our first speaker is Scarlett.
name is Scarlett Stokes, and I am the treasurer with the Chalkawinity Recreation Department, and I wanted to come before the commissioners tonight and thank you all for your support of our sports program in Chalkawinity. And with that support, we hope to continue to provide programs that will be an asset to the community, encourage participation, and influence more families to reside in our town. It's been a journey to getting the lights on Field 4 at the Chalkawinity Rec Complex. And on opening day, March 29th, our goal was reached with the assistance of Beaufort County funds, fundraising, and grants. And I'm sorry you couldn't be there, Mr. Waters. Mr. Ed Booth was there, and we appreciate the attendance. The mission of the Chalkawinity Rec is to provide programs from T-ball to co-ed softball. Through these programs, we promote good physical and mental health, which are safe, fun, and a positive influence. We continue to promote sportsmanship, basic fundamentals, and skills for ball, and encourage playing for the fun of the game and to promote camaraderie. Since COVID numbers have ranged from 150 to 200 plus, and this year we are blessed to have 12 teams playing. And finally, on July the 5th through the 12th, Chalkawinity will be hosting the Little Tar Heel Baseball Tournament, and we invite you all to attend. Again, that's July the 5th through the 12th at the complex. And this year, I will have 3 generations that have played at the Chalkawinity Rec complex. And again, the Chalkawinity Rec Department thanks you for your support.
Thank you very much. Mayor Williams?
Thanks, sir.
Brandon, you can push his time limit to 5. I agreed to do that.
I believe the board should vote on that. If you're breaking the rules are 3 minutes. I don't mind voting on it. I'll give him the 5 minutes, but I think you're out of order.
It's at the option of the chairman,
Who
according
elected
to our
you?
policy.
All right.
Okay, if I can speak, I appreciate it. Mr. Chairman, distinguished commissioners, other public officials, thank you for the opportunity to provide a public comment tonight. My name is Cliff Williams. I'm the mayor of Aurora, representing the town of Aurora. In the absence of township governance, I also listen to the constituents of Richland Township and in an informal way help simplify their voice to their government, the county, and the state. I wanted to publicly make you aware that I sent a letter to the chairman of the Beaufort County Board of Education, Mr. T.W. Allen, on April the 2nd, listing our community's concerns in reference to their March 25th board vote to start the process of closing S.W. Snowden, the only K-8 rural education facility east of Chalkawinity. My hope is that you will have been furnished with a copy of our concerns provided electronically to our county manager this past Friday. This letter outlines just some of the community's concerns and solicits Beaufort County Schools to respond to a series of questions pertaining to the progress or lack of progress meeting the goals of the Beaufort County Schools 22 to 27 strategic plan. I provide a thumbnail extract of those goals to you tonight as we capture them in 2023 as we were also formulating our own strategic plan. Our town's own plan addresses the need to improve public education on the south side of the river, goals on how to provide a better education to our children in this rural community. Many of these goals are simply restated BCS goals, as we are the governing government agency responsible for bringing quality education to the youth. I would be remiss if I didn't thank you for the support of 2 of the 5 initiatives we requested early in our planning to improve education outcomes in our community, including bringing broadband to connect to this underserved community to the 21st century educational, healthcare, and economic development opportunities. And with the overwhelming support of the Representative Kidwell, securing NC State funding of a Beaufort County Community College Workforce Development Center to strengthen trade trades, education for better paying job opportunities for our citizens. Both initiatives are anticipated to be complete by spring of 2026, and I'm pleased to inform you that the Aurora Industrial Park is ready to support the BCC in their soon-to-be groundbreaking of the higher education facility. I'll close with several requests of this body. We encourage the county leadership to attend a BCS community forum on April the 16th, starting at 6 p.m. in the S.W. Snowden Auditorium. We hope the board's scheduled forum is one of many opportunities for the community to readdress their grievances and share their concerns about our community and the future of our children's education. In my letter, I have offered an opportunity to make a formal presentation to the BCS Education Board on the progress to date of the town's strategic plan. No BCS board member or superintendent representatives have attended any of the series of public updates we have provided to the community within the past 2 years. We're glad to go to them if that is what it takes to inform BCS board members on the vision, goals, and key tasks and end state of a thriving rural community that is committed to supporting Richland Township citizens. We believe the March 25th decision of the school board is premature. It has not conducted an analysis of the alternatives or shared with the public that explores all the possibilities on how to provide rich and rewarding educational experience for our youth, as opposing to hastily decisions to close S.W. Snowden based on BCS financial concerns only, concerns that can be mitigated with county commissioners' support. And as a reminder, I close with the BCS motto: every student, every classroom, every day. I request that my comments be considered for placement in the public record, and I thank you for the opportunity to speak and for your attention in this matter. Thank you very much for listening to me.
Thank you, Mike. Cliff, good luck on your surgery.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that.
Okay, we're down to legislative updates, and I see that we have neither one of our representatives here. So, items for consent. Is there anyone that wants to pull any one of these items for discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I'd like to pull the Health Department Consolidated Agreement and the amended project budget ordinance, Ann Williams, and the plat review officer appointments.
Okay, so that's 2, 3, and 4.
Yes.
Okay. Can I get a motion to approve items 1, 5, and 6? Do I have a second?
That's not short.
Okay, all those in favor of those 3 items, raise your right hand. Okay, thank you.
Do you need an opposition vote?
Okay, all those opposed? Thank you. We're down to items for decision in the Health Department. Janelle? And if you will, after we finish that one, we'll take up the consolidated agreement.
Okay, so do consolidated second.
Either way you want to do it.
Okay, well, I have Anita with me to do the T21, so could we do the consolidated first? Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. That's fine.
So if, Mr. Tandy, I know for last year you might not have been here, but the consolidated agreement is how funding comes to us through AA, state, federal funding. And I think the big question was just if there were any changes, Mr. Richardson, is that correct?
The reason I pulled it was, yes, that's correct. How is this agreement different from last year's agreement?
Sure. So I actually went and pulled up what was sent to me to make sure I got it nailed on. So there were 2 main areas that reviewed. That was it. One of them was environmental health changes that basically needed to be added to comply with new requirements, and that is basically that DPH Environmental Health section has a convened work group, and that work group is creating templates that would then assure that we are meet requirements to the GS 143-300. And then the other change was funding stipulations in regards to the uniform guidance, and that was really in regards to subcontractors and the information change of that nature, and that was it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Is there any other questions?
Tandy, did you have?
Okay.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, all those in favor of the agreement, raise your right hand. Thank you.
Awesome. And I've got Miss Anita Hernandez coming up. She's our public health educator, and she's going to be kind of leading this section for me, okay?
Good evening. Thank you, Janelle. Yes, so I've recently onboarded with our health department, but I'm a longtime resident of Beaufort County. So thank you for having me tonight. I would like to discuss the resolution that you actually have already at your desk with you. That's the resolution for tobacco 21, or also known as T21. This is a resolution that's a much bigger part of the North Carolina Alliance of Health. It created this movement to put some momentum into what has happened recently in federal laws. So that was at the end of 2019 when some changes were made federally in the sales age of tobacco products. Now, nationally, we are 21 years old, 21 years of age where we're allowed to purchase tobacco products, but North Carolina, unfortunately, is one of the 9 states that has not enforced that law or that requirement. Yet, 95% of tobacco users start before the age of 21. So this is very unfortunate data that we see. On March 25th of this year, 2025, our Board of Health actually signed the resolution in support of our purpose and our goal. And I want to share that information with you as well, and hope to gain your support in signing and moving forward with this resolution. But why does this all matter? So you also have a fact sheet that you had that was passed out earlier, so it's all in front of you. But we have a lot of financial consequences that could happen if we do not go into this federal requirement, if we do not follow it. So NC will probably lose about $5 million in block grants, which fund prevention, treatment, and recovery services in our communities. Now, federal enforcement began in December 2024, and the current House bill, which supports what we're doing right now, is the House Bill 430. It's right now in the Rules Committee, but hopefully will be passed to the floor. So this could potentially help block that loss of money. Also, we see it on the news. Tobacco use is on the rise, especially in our youth. We see a lot more of those e-cigarettes, those vapes, and that's all in our youth, increasing their use of tobacco. We also see the early addiction. It's very, very common. We also have lack of licensing in North Carolina. So with being one of the 9 states without a retailer licensing system, that doesn't help us track where the tobacco is going. So with this bill and ultimately this resolution and supporting it, we hopefully can get a system in place that can track those tobacco products and where they're being sold, as well as holding those non-compliant retailers accountable for selling to underage. We also want to prevent youth nicotine addiction. We want to help curb those e-cigarettes at schools, because that has been seen as an issue, and I've had that information shared with me firsthand. And lastly, we want to align our state and our federal law with this resolution. This is a support that I only ask of you because it is very important for our community. So I hope that I've shared enough information and have maybe shared something new with you, and hope to gain your support and look forward to your decision, whether signing or not.
Any of the commissioners have questions on the resolution?
I have some questions. As I understand this, what licensing is going to do is, instead of being able to go to I think I figured out one time in Beaufort County, people selling their tobacco shops, I figured at that time a vape shops was 1 for every 3,900 people in the county, but if you include convenience stores, it's probably 1 for every 1,000 people in Beaufort County that's selling this stuff. But my understanding is that if this law is effective and the legislature follows through with it, the licensing is, you're going to be able to deny those who sell to underage students the right to sell tobacco products.
Correct.
Is that all tobacco products or just some tobacco products?
So the bill is a little bit more detailed, but it would include all products, with whether it be smokeless, which is your e-cigarettes or your vapes, as well as the pouches that we see now, and as well as just cigarettes in general.
So all of these vape shops would be allowed to, would have to get a license?
Correct.
Well, you know, the interesting thing about vape shops, as far as what goes on in there, and I think we've had this in front of the commissioners, the vape shops, the commissioners didn't want to hear about it, so they did everything they could to stop the sheriff from bringing it in and educating us with it. But the vape shops sell the ingredients to concentrate marijuana into more concentrated forms to make it even more lethal and effective as a narcotic than it is. So there's a lot of things that go on in vape shops that shouldn't go on in vape shops. Now, I have seen people take 6 and 8-year-old children into vape shops. Is the law going to allow the presence of anyone under 18 to even be in a vape shop? And if not, maybe that should be included in there.
That I am not certain for this particular bill, but I have heard stories just the same way that I could get that information for you.
Well, I don't really need the information. What I'm pushing for is to get it in the law.
Yes, yes.
Stronger solutions to the resolution.
See, what this would mean is convenience stores that are selling this stuff would not, you know, they would have to severely restrict what they sell in those places and really become vape shops, or they would have to get rid of the tobacco products altogether, which is really not a bad idea.
Right. So the resolution, at any point, if there was something that the board wanted to add that was a stronger recommendation, we can always do that. The bill, obviously, that would have, the resolution would show our support for the bill as well as an additional things to add to.
Well, I would like, as a part of the motion when it's made, that we include in our motion the presence of children under the age of 21 years in a place that sells tobacco.
Now,
Should not be
I
allowed.
will say what you're going to run into, though, for a convenience shop, grocery stores, but also if they can't, are they going to leave their kids in the car?
Look, my first wife died with lung cancer from smoking.
Right.
Okay, do you see where I'm coming from? This stuff will kill you. So why should we sit here and let people go out and commit suicide and help them do it?
I am not voting for tobacco, but as someone who also knows someone who left their kid in the car that died, I want to make sure they're safe too, whether in a shop or out of a shop. No, I don't want them exposed any more than you do. I just think there's got to be a solution on both ends.
And ultimately, this resolution, our goal is to bring attention to those issues. So I think the first step is actually showing support as a state. You know, we've had our Board of Health sign on, hopefully you guys will as well. And that'll be a domino effect for other agencies that can make a change as well to these laws to actually take action.
Is what you're thinking that you come on too strong and the legislature won't do anything?
Well, that's going to be for the North Carolina Alliance of Health, that they're doing all of the lobbying for everyone else that is unable to do it. So that's something that they might consider. And there's a lot of different parts of the law that they're trying to push forward. So it's not just specifically to the age or licensing, so there's many different concepts of it.
Well, when the motion's made for this, I want the opportunity to propose an additional amendment that children under 21 years, that people under the age of 21 years not be allowed in the building where tobacco products are sold.
Okay, well, any other question on the motion, recommended motion and the resolution? And then we'll take the amendment.
As a separate item.
Yes, separate item.
Motion to approve the resolution.
Okay, we've got a motion to approve the resolution, and we have a second. Okay. Now, I'll entertain your amendment.
I thought we were going to vote on them separately, is what you said.
Pardon?
First.
You have to, you split them into two things.
If we can amend it and include it in this resolution.
If the people that made the motion agree to that.
Okay, all right. All those in favor of the resolution, raise your right hand. Okay?
Okay, now I'll make my amendment. I move that we amend the previous motion to state that children under the age of 21 years not be allowed to be in places where tobacco products are sold.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, we have a second. Any discussion?
Yes, sir. I mean, if you really consider this, Food Line sells tobacco products. How many other places can you think of?
Drugstores, I mean.
Drugstores, I mean, that is way too broad. I mean, if to do something like that, you're gonna have to really tighten the rope on that and really specify the types of shops that you were talking about. But just to say that wherever cigarettes are sold, that's too vague. You cannot do that.
Why not? Who says you can't?
Okay.
Well, I for one say you cannot.
Well, you're by yourself. Legislature's going to act on this. That's your opinion, and thank you very much.
Okay, any other comments?
All of course.
All right, all those in favor of the motion, raise your hand. Those opposed?
See, these are the same people that won't pass strong laws on narcotics. They really think you should have a few around the house. No, you're the same people that are destroying society.
Thank you very much. All right, I'm gonna ask Ann, if she will, to come up here, and we'll go ahead and pick up the one that we pulled from consent.
I don't think so. I can give you a green one.
Okay, Hood.
My purpose in pulling this is this is another one of those programs that the government puts on, the environmentalists put on, and everybody thinks it's a great thing, and all it's doing is tying people's property up forever because this generation gets the money and the next several generations find out they got a piece of property that's not worth anything, and it really doesn't do anything to help society other than pay a few people that are in need of a few bucks some money. So the reason I pulled this is so I can vote against it.
Okay. All right, need a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second.
And we have a second. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Those opposed? Thank you, Ann. All right, and I'm going to ask Lloyd, if he will, to come up here, and we'll go ahead and pick up the plat review officer appointments. And I'll ask Hood to address his concern or questions.
Oh, okay. The reason I pulled this is you're having the resolution itself says now therefore be it resolved effective immediately. Lloyd Salter, Anthony Garris, Megan May, and Josh Hollis are hereby appointed to perform all responsibilities as required for review officers under the appropriate North Carolina general statutes. And for the public's benefit, this pertains to the subdivision ordinance on land development that Beaufort County has. And I object to Anthony Garris being allowed to approve anything because he has done such a sorry job in doing what he's done up till now. He's not qualified. He has approved maps. He's approved things without following the ordinance.
Mr. Chairman, if
Yeah.
Commissioner Richardson has a personnel matter, I'd like to go into closed session and discuss that instead of coming out in public.
Okay.
This is in the this is my item for the closed session, Mr. Garris, is the item.
We go now.
He's out there now.
Well, you have to say the subject when you
I'll
go
take
into closed
exception to
session.
that.
You can't just go
Take
into closed
exception to
session
that,
to
Chairman.
discuss a secret employee. Well, maybe not, but in this particular case, I've dealt with Mr. Garris for over 20 years, and I'm tired of dealing with
Still
him.
talking
We
about
have to stop.
Okay, we'll stop, and who wants to entertain the motion that we go into closed session for personnel matter?
Is this the closed session
Katie.
at the end of the meeting?
No, we'll do it right this minute. Because we're gonna address that first in closed
Motion.
session.
A motion is needed to go into closed session under NCGS 143-318-11A6 to consider the qualifications, competence, performance, condition, and appointment of a public officer or employee or prospective public officer or employee.
So move.
Okay,
Second.
and we got a second. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Thank you. Lloyd, will you come back? Okay, we're back from the closed session. I need a motion to come out of the closed session.
Second.
All right. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Thank you. Okay, no action was taken, but we're back to the agenda item as it related to the plat review officers or appointments. Did we have a motion, Katie? Okay.
Motion to approve.
Got a motion and a second to approve. All those in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. Those opposed? Okay, thank you, Lloyd. All right, we down to Public Works, Christina and Wes. You're going to talk about the Southside Water Treatment Plant expansion and well improvements.
Yes, sir. If you recall back during the February 3rd Board of Commissioners meeting this past year, the Commissioners approved Beaufort County Water requesting supplemental funding for the expansion of the Southside Water Treatment Plant from the Division of Water Infrastructure. I'm excited to announce this evening that we received a letter and a funding offer package from the Division of Water Infrastructure dated March 12th. And I've attached that letter, which includes all of the funding details regarding the $1,980,000 loan with 0% interest for a 20-year term. Also attached is a resolution that is required by Division of Water Infrastructure, the current approved budget ordinance that was presented past February, as well as the associated contract change orders. I ask that the Commissioners approve the resolution accepting the funding offer from Division of Water Infrastructure and approve the associated contract change orders.
Motion to approve.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any questions of Christina?
I have a question.
Okay.
Just to be sure, this is the same thing that we talked about and approved at the last meeting last month and just said do the details and
Yes,
bring
sir.
it back. So
Yes,
there's
sir.
really nothing new in this.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
Okay, anyone else? All right, all those in favor, raise your right hand.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Wes, you're going to talk to us about revising the solid waste ordinance. I believe this is the second reading.
Yes, sir, that is correct. Thank you for having me tonight. Again, this is the second reading of our revisions to our solid waste ordinance according to North Carolina General Statute, according to SB 300, North Carolina General Statute has been revised to read that no ordinance specifying a criminal penalty may be enacted at the meeting in which it was first introduced. Therefore, I'm here tonight for the second reading of these changes to the proposed changes to the solid waste ordinance. Again, these, as a summary, these changes are to introduce language regarding accumulation of what we are terming as junk on property. This is not bagged kitchen trash for summary. This is furniture, scrap metal, any number of things that are more what most people would view as junk. Mattresses, scrap metal pallets, building materials, boat or car parts, and similar materials. Again, this is putting language in there to say that accumulation of junk is not allowed. We do have some exceptions there. If it is completely screened from public view through fencing, landscaping, berms, it's okay. As long as it is not a health or safety threat to others, it's not an issue if it meets that guideline. If it's being stored in a building, wholly enclosed except for doors for ingress or egress, it's not a violation. And also if it has been on the property for less than 30 days. So if somebody's moving out of their house and they happen to leave a dresser on the yard for a couple of days, that's not going to be a violation. We're not going to try to enforce anything on that. The penalty that would be associated with this is a Tier 2 violation in our civil penalties, which I apologize, I did not look up to see what the fine was on that. But it's the same kind of penalty for scavenging, at our collection sites, improper transportation of, including uncovered loads, failure to remove solid waste from property within 30 days, and then other violations of our rules for collection sites. Again, the revised ordinance is attached. There's also a summary of the changes. I'll be happy to take any questions.
So this does not include junk mobile homes or junk vehicles at this point in time? That will come in a later ordinance?
That is correct. They would be separate ordinances from what this is addressing.
But that's forthcoming?
Yes.
Just to be sure, this is maybe unpackaged junk. It's not contained in any way. It doesn't look like it's bagged up and stacked up neatly or something like this. And where I'm going with this is, let's say in the case of this junk, that we give them notices or fine them and go through all the motions, and they still don't respond by cleaning it up. Within our ordinance, this is the question, do we still have the right to go clean it up and put a lien on their property?
This would be subject to all the other provisions, so just like if somebody's got a pile of trash in their yard, bagged kitchen trash, the county does have the right to, after taking all of the courses of actions, we can clean it up and file a lien on the property.
Okay. Thank you.
Other questions?
Yeah, I got a question. And this is just something I experienced recently. This is the first for me. I own a certain amount of road frontage in Jockawee Township. And just as recently, I noticed that somebody had piled up a great deal of trash on Hill Road. I know there's some problems on Hill Road, at least I'm hearing it, some problems of substance abuse. But it's more of the southern end of Hill Road. I'm at the northern end of Hill Road. And they just caught it on fire. And so I looked through it to try to find any evidence I could find of who may have owned that trash at one time. But what can we do to enforce trash disposal in most improper places? I mean, it's going to be a conundrum for this county, for this state, and for this nation as it's gotten worse in the last 4 years.
We've got the provisions in this ordinance to, let's say a bag of trash is found on the side of the road. It's considered, if your name is found in that bag of trash, whatever it's on, it's a bill, it's a love letter from somebody. If your name is found on there, I believe it's called prima facie evidence that you were in possession of that trash, and you can be held responsible for that trash. So it takes knowing about it, which I'm not aware of the Hill Road situation.
I didn't call it in.
That's the first I've heard about that one.
I mean, it's I don't know what evidence you can find.
Unfortunately, if somebody's burning trash is a
in the right of way
in the state is a state provision.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, if somebody burns it, most likely we're not going to find evidence of who it was.
The rubber didn't burn.
Right.
So, but I thank you. I'm glad I asked you this, and so that this will be apparent to all people out there. They're going to have to be very careful when they just throw their trash anywhere. And I hope the public will do everything they can to find a way to incriminate these people, because they deserve it. They deserve the highest penalty they can receive.
I'll say I'll take the step out there that, we're going to be fair too, unless we see some gross negligence about somebody's trash. We probably will assume the first thing, it blew out of their truck on the way. We'll clean it up, we'll write them a warning letter. But if we see repeat offenders, then we'll make sure that the proper actions are taken to enforce our ordinance.
I get that, but at some point, people are responsible for policing their own trash, and they should secure their trash. I mean, maybe we should expand the ordinance to suggest that they are responsible for securing everything they carry down the road.
We've got a provision in there.
Okay.
It's to be secured or tarped or...
I would go ahead I wouldn't even give them a second chance. I mean that. Okay, Commissioner Booth.
Yes. Question I had was, understand, I don't have a problem with trash, people throwing trash alongside the road. But we passed this ordinance tonight. if you ride around this county, it's a full-time job telling people, going around looking at trash in people's yards. I mean, it's a full-time job.
We're well aware.
And the thing about it is, there's some yards in this county that 30 days they can't have it cleaned up. They really can't have it cleaned up. And then the other thing is, what some people call their trash is another man's treasure. Now, when you say a car, I got an old junk car in my backyard, and now that's my treasure. I want to tell you right now, that's my treasure. That 66 Mustang is my treasure. So I have a problem with going on people's personal property, telling them you got 30 days to do this. And some of those places need to be cleaned. I'll be the first to tell you, I wrote up, since we've been doing this, I have paid attention. I even tell my wife, look at this, look at that. And it's going to be hard. It's going to be terribly hard for some of these yards to be cleaned up in 30 days.
We've run into that situation, and I think, it's written that it has to be removed within 30 days, but I think we have the ability to have some discretion. If we see that the person is working towards the end goal, we can work with them. If we see that they're just disregarding the ordinance and our notices, then that's when we then take further action.
Commissioner Booth, also, this is a county ordinance, so it only applies in unincorporated areas of Beaufort County, so it would not apply within municipalities, so you're safe. The city of Washington would have to come after you.
Well, I understand that, but I was just using that scenario because the places that I was talking about, Mr. Manager, God knows I could carry that now. One of them you wouldn't clean up in a year. But
and that's why we have those provisions in there. If your treasure, the other person's trash, is shielded from public view and is not a nuisance to anybody, it is what it is. But having it sitting out in your front yard where every...
Where I pay this tax at. Sitting in my front yard where I pay tax. I got to move my sofa. All right, I just...
Yeah. And I understand where Commissioner Booth is coming from, and of course he's in the city and it doesn't really apply to him, but yeah, and I understand where we're coming from is if it's shielded, you can't see it. That's a whole other story, but there are mobile homes that are completely, they're in shambles, completely in shambles, homes in shambles. I mean, nobody can live there. There's not a good 4 walls for anybody to go in there and get out of the cold or the rain. I mean, that's a whole different issue, and people treating the yards like it's the inside of a giant box store where people can come and shop, and they just store it there. It's more than an eyesore. I think it's a poor stewardship of our space we have here in Beaufort County.
Okay, anyone else on the revisions? Okay, all those in favor of the changes in the solid waste ordinance, raise your right hand. Those opposed? They didn't.
So moved.
Okay. All right. We'll back up. We got a motion?
Second.
And a second. All right. All those in favor of the motion and the second, raise your right hand.
Ed, I'll come get your car before they tow it away.
And you're opposed? You're opposed. No, he has license. You still have license tags on that car, don't you?
I don't know where, but mine,
Okay.
he knows where I'm talking about.
All right, you want to,
Again, let me just reiterate that will be effective July 1, and we will be working to get the word out there. We'll work with Brandon and make sure it's getting published, and that way it won't be tomorrow we can show up at somebody's door.
Mr. Chairman, I have one final question.
Yes.
Look, we're having a problem finding somebody to enforce this ordinance. Let me ask the manager, is it possible that we could find a way to combine this job with another job so that we would have a full-time employee who could do both jobs?
I'm not sure we have an existing position that could do that, but I think that once you include the junk car and once you include the junk mobile home, I think you will have enough for someone to stay busy 24/7.
Full-time. All right, you want to talk to us about the special call meeting for looking at the solid waste mega site plans?
Yes, sir. We'd like to request that the board set up a special called meeting to have a refresher on the site plans for the proposed mega sites. As we're nearing acquisition of the properties, and as Garrett and Moore is proceeding, we'd like to get before the full board, have the opportunity for you all to ask the engineer questions and discuss the plans in a open environment where, but we don't want to hold everybody else up. So we'd like to set up a special called meeting where we can do that just for that purpose and not have other people waiting around to do their business as well. We would propose, in order to allow Garrett and Moore to move on with their process, we would propose either April 14th, 15th, or 16th, next Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. We're pretty much available at any time, and Mr. Vance Moore has indicated the same.
14th, 15th, or 16th?
Yes, sir.
So, Mr. Chairman, if you're going to do something in the evening, the 16th is at 6 o'clock is the Snowden public meeting in Aurora.
Okay, so looking back at the 14th and the 15th.
14th's good for me.
Was one of those on Thursday night?
No, it's Monday and Tuesday.
What time? What time?
Up to you, whether it's day or evening.
If it's in the daytime on the 14th, I cannot do it. I don't have to be here, so.
Are you going to try to do it in the day?
We're open to daytime or evening.
Well, I would love for the people that have already worked on the plan to be here, at least one person.
They will be here.
Okay, they will be here, okay. It makes no difference to me on the 14th or the 15th, either one. If you want to do it like at 7 o'clock at night.
14th, 7, good for me.
Would that work for you? Okay. Everybody in agreement? All right.
Yeah.
The 14th at 7 o'clock. If you'll, you and Katie work that out, make sure that we're reminded of it.
Okay. All right. Is that all we need to do on that one, I guess? If I can throw one other thing in there, I don't have this on the agenda item, but I do want to just announce to you all, we are having a household hazardous waste collection event on Saturday, April 26th, 9 o'clock to 1 o'clock at Beaufort County Community College. So we're passing the word out there. They've been popular events in the past. Hopefully this one will be the same.
Okay, which one of you, Christine, are you going to talk about
Yes, sir.
the 3 vehicles?
Yes, sir. On page 238 of the agenda, you'll see, due to the forecasted increase in the cost of new vehicles, Beaufort County Water requests to purchase 3 full-size trucks now in lieu of waiting until the next fiscal year as scheduled. Modern Chevrolet has provided quotes, or they are able to provide 3 2025 Chevy Silverado 1500 work trucks for $41,079. They would be delivered in approximately 8 weeks. You also see additional costs regarding tags, and equipment would be approximately $4,000, so asking for a total request of $135,000. Again, this is something during our budget review process, meeting with the manager and the finance officer, looking at what was scheduled for fiscal year 2026, our regular program of our approximately 25 vehicles in the water department. We're on basically a 10-year replacement cycle now, where we're just replacing 2 vehicles a year. We've been able to slowly get that program into place over the past 10 years so that we don't have such a large hit at one time. So again, we would be surplusing vehicles and then also offering these vehicles up to any other departments that may need it. No, sir. This would be in lieu of it being in next year's budget. This current year budget, we did not purchase any vehicles. We went in and did a refurbishment of a larger F-650 dump truck, but we did not purchase any vehicles. I was here before you a few months ago to purchase a vehicle, but that was because we had an employee that was in an accident. Yes, sir. That was not any fault of his own. Again, this is something, again, the manager, finance officer, myself, and Wes looking at the cost of it, trying to look in the future and offering this to the commissioners, so making this request and allowing you to decide.
Tandy?
Well, believe it or not, I've done the same thing at work. We went out and bought about 5 vehicles because we can foresee possibly increase in prices. So I think it's a good idea to go ahead and get them while you can because we don't know what's happening. I talked to one of the local dealerships the other day. They said they got 14 sitting in Mexico right now supposed to be delivered, but they couldn't even tell you what the price is because we're waiting to see how the tariffs and everything else is going to roll out. So personally, I think going ahead and getting them now while you can at a potentially lower price is the way to go. So.
Well, did you have a question? What's the anticipated price savings and cost savings in doing this?
I don't, it's unknown.
I don't think we know. What we've heard is $4,000 or $5,000. What the national folks are saying, $4,000 or $5,000 on top of a vehicle. I mean, it won't be any cheaper than this. We're at least they at least have them. That's one of the other challenges we have, that everybody's grabbing them, and they may not be available after July 1. So, we've had trouble getting other vehicles. It's taken a long lead time to get them. So they actually have their fingers on these and can get them. So they won't be any cheaper. I can assure you that. We don't know how much more they're going to be.
The number seems to be going up all the time.
Yes, sir.
I think this is made in Canada, the ones that you're looking at.
I believe so. The one that was presented a few months ago was.
Any other?
Okay, delivery, right? They're guaranteeing delivery. This is not something we're going to place an order and a year from now, they're going to be mumbling around talking about delivery.
According to the quote that we've received, they are expecting them in approximately 8 weeks. That's what they told us, and that, again, that's what they had. The same dealership has done this before. It's based off of the Sheriff's Association purchasing, and they have followed through, and they've been able to provide what they said. So I have no reason to doubt.
Well, but what happens if you come up 12 weeks from now and they still haven't delivered? I think you ought to put a cancellation clause in this thing because we're not willing to sit around and wait forever.
No, sir, but I am willing to sit around and wait. If my name's on the list, then I would prefer to still be on the list than to start over again. We went through a lot of that with COVID. The water department, we had some delays, but I believe emergency management had delays that went even longer than ours. So
I don't want to
we had to wait, but eventually we were successful.
I don't want to sound too condescending about all this, but car manufacturing plants are going to keep right on running. Everything else is going to keep right on going. So the idea that we're going to do without, I don't think is there because that's not how commerce works. So, I don't know. I was leaning toward voting for this, but I just about talked myself into voting against it, quite frankly.
Okay, we've got a motion. Is there a second before we go any further on the discussion?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second now. Is there other discussions? Yes.
Okay, thinking further out with the tariffs, and we don't know how long these tariffs are going to be enforced. They could be enforced for years. They may break down and the reciprocity lead to a 0-0 tariff for all countries involved. Things are happening fast now. It's not being picked up on the news because there's no value for these news agencies to tell the public the truth. I understand that fully. I understand the media business very well. Now, having said that, part of the tariffs is to create manufacturing here at home. There could be a surplus of manufacturing here by American-made products, which, considering the ramifications of supply and demand, there may be a greater supply than we realize later. So why do we have to get these vehicles now? Why is there this huge now here, other than what you've expressed? Is there no way to wait?
I would go back to what I expressed, and I believe what I said was that these vehicles are being planned to be in the fiscal year 2026 budget. They are on the schedule to be replaced. So looking based upon information that we've been provided from the national news media, local news media, wherever, I will say that you gentlemen speak about federal items much more than I speak about at this podium, and I plan to keep it that way. So in an effort to be a good steward of the money for Beaufort County government and Beaufort County budget, I'm asking if you would like us to make this purchase now. If you choose not to, then we will not make this purchase now, and it will be included in the fiscal year 2026 budget. Again, just based upon information that I've read and I've seen, I thought that this would be a potential to save some funds out of the fiscal year 2026 budget. So I'm just presenting it there, asking to do this, and however you tell us to proceed.
There are two channels of thought. There's the optimism and there's a pessimism. I tend to be optimistic that what's happening now is going to be good. There's a lot of pessimism now. There's a lot of shorting of stocks. There's a driving down of the stock market. I understand that. There's a lot of news circulating around this, hands off, protest, this and that and the other. A lot of this going on right now. I don't buy into any of it. I think what's happening right now is the economy is on a mending rebound, and it's going to be a very slow rebound because it's been devastated over the last 4 years. I've spoken that for many times. You're right, we do speak about these issues because it causes a lot of costs, a lot of consternation we commissioners.
Definitely a lot of consternation.
This is a savings. I mean, she's trying to save us money.
But I got that, but let me please finish.
Please.
What we need to do is consider what the future will bring. My thought is not spending now means money we get to keep in our treasury. Hopefully we can give it back to the taxpayers at some point. So if we can get a savings later, let's go with it later. I think there may be a supply and demand issue where there's going to be more supply of American-made vehicles.
Okay, anyone else have any comment before we take a vote? All those in favor of the motion and recommendation by the staff to purchase the 3 work trucks, please raise your right hand. Those opposed?
Thank you, Commissioner.
Sorry you had to go through all the...
No, again, it's part, if not now, then we'll talk about it in a month later.
I have to apologize because we have a lot of debate. Why is that?
I mean...
Explain that, Mr. Chairman.
I mean, it's business practice. I mean, it's just good business to go ahead. It's the 10-year cycle to replace them, and we're looking at saving money. So,
what if we don't save money?
Well,
you guarantee that we won't save money?
I'm sure that if you find out later that you can't get them at that price, will you not come back?
What price goes down from that very good price that we may be able to get?
You're not an economist, so I'm not listening to you.
You're not either.
Neither are you.
I've got a degree in economics.
Okay.
All right. The next item on here is the manager, the pay, classification, designation, and training agreement for the deputy sheriff's trainee position. Brian?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. As you'll recall, at your last meeting, you approved establishing a special designation of deputy sheriff trainee in our pay and class plan and bringing back final details. You have those final details in your book, which is the training agreement. In consultation with HR, the Sheriff's Office, and the County Attorney, we've designated the Sheriff Deputy Trainee in the pay and classification plan at grade 65. The salary for the trainee would start at $41,718. That's $5,000 less than what a probationary complete salary of a sworn deputy would be. So they would start at that. Once the trainee becomes a sworn deputy sheriff, they would move to the probation complete salary of a deputy sheriff, which is still in the grade 65. Any educational adjustments that the board had prior approved, which was $2,000 for associates, $4,000 for bachelors, would still be applicable to the trainee, and they would still be added in. But any of the additional law enforcement specific benefits, like the 5% employer required contribution to a 401k and the law enforcement retirement supplement, would not begin until the trainee becomes a sworn deputy sheriff. Until then, they're covered like every other general employee we have. You have a copy of the draft training agreement. It's been signed off, or been reviewed and signed off by the sheriff and the county attorney. It requires certain items to be done by the county. It requires certain items to be done by the trainee. And there are some liquidated damages that apply to the trainee if they leave prior to 3 years after they become a sworn deputy. Be happy to answer any questions you have, but we would request your approval on that.
Okay, Tandy?
First off, you listen to this as a pay grade 65, and the pay grade 65 is a full deputy sheriff. Why is not
this has a pay grade 63. We've listed a special position in 65 because they would step into the 65. Okay. I mean, it's like when we did, when we had the special class for starting deputies, and we put it 40, we put them in there, and they were in that class, and we just called them that, but they're listed as a special designation. Okay. The training reimbursement agreement talks about going to Beaufort Community College. As we discussed in the meetings in February, they're considering possibly doing away with local community college training and doing a regional. And I think it would probably be easier or better or smarter to just eliminate the words Beaufort County Community College and just say BLET. And that way, if for some reason or other Beaufort County is done away with and Pitt County is done away with, and you only have Salemburg or some other regional training, then you wouldn't have to go back and redo this contract or agreement and do the wording that way. But back when I worked for the state and we did the special categories, I did classification studies for the state, and we would have put it in as a 63. And I think if you look at Pitt counties has a lower grade than the actual full deputy position. But that's just my comments on that. We can certainly adjust it and take out the language for Beaufort Community College. I think that's what they hope, that they will keep them here.
Well, I understand that, but I don't,
yeah,
and that's
no, I
why I
understand.
too haven't taught at the Beaufort Community College program, but, you know, if the state gets their way and we have to do away with them, then we'll have to go wherever. If you just put BLET, then you're covered.
I'm assuming everyone shaking their head, they're in agreement with that. Okay, good with that. Yes.
The only thing I would say is, and it's not going to give me heartburn if it doesn't happen, is the educational advance. I would prefer that they finish BLET and then get that advance. But like I said, that doesn't really give me a lot of heartburn, but that's the way I would do it.
Yeah, I think the reason that we said it like that was because it was and I don't know when the board approved that years ago when the board said that, but that's the foundation piece. That's what they're hoping that those folks bring to the table to start with, and that's the benefit of it. So making them wait once they got the BLET certification, we just thought if you had that when you came in, you'd be provided it.
Okay.
Mr. Manager, if they change the training standards, this would be null and void anyway, wouldn't it?
Well, that's potentially there. So, so one of the reasons, and as we talked about, it used to be under the training standards that if you were going to be a law enforcement officer, a municipal law enforcement officer, you couldn't be sworn unless you had BLET. Several years ago, or I guess last year, a year and a half ago, you could be a deputy sheriff and be sworn, and you had 12 months to get your certification. It was changed a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, so that they were all equal, so that all the law enforcement officers had to have BLET before they could be sworn. The Sheriff's Association and sheriffs have talked to the General Assembly and training standards, and it's my understanding that that they're working through that right now, and within, I think this fall, it's probably going to change back to the way it was, which would allow sheriffs to hire someone, and then they would have 12 months to get their certification. They could be a sworn deputy and act in a sworn deputy position, but they would have 12 months to get certification. I guess it goes back to the old days of a sheriff deputizing somebody and saying, come to work for me. So that's the difference in the two, and at one time they were equal, and now they're moving to change it back the way it was. So to your point, it may take away some of the pressure that they have in finding people, but still the sheriff may want to use that training reimbursement agreement so that you could say to those folks, we're going to pay for you to go through BLET. They would still do that because they would be working for us, we're working for the sheriff. And then there would still be that 3-year capture on them to say, we've invested in you, we expect you to invest in us and be here at least 3 years.
In this case, then there's no cap on the trainee program. Everybody, if 5 people was to leave tomorrow, you could bring in 5 people and put them into the training program. Is that the case?
So
As it is today?
Well, as it is today, sure, and we talked about that last time. I think that's at the discretion of the sheriff, because if he were to do that, then he would tie up all 5 vacant positions for at least 6 months. And I'm not sure that he would want to do that. We talked about that last time. If you had 3 open positions, you may want to do one of them, but you can probably hire, somebody who's already BLET certified. But if you push them all to the training program, then you've committed and you've got to wait 6 months. So he's out somebody for 6 months.
Anyone else? Okay, all those in favor of the new agreement for the training, or the training agreement for the sheriff's trainee position, please raise your right hand. Thank you, gentlemen. All right, Brian, you want to go to the Resilient Coastal Communities Program, Phase 1 and 2?
Yes, sir. So the Resilient Coastal Communities Program, which we've been a part of for the last few years, is open. Their application period is open back up, and it closes on the 25th of this month. They have funding for CAMA land use updates. There's no match required for this. The Mideast Commissioner is again partnering with RK&K as contractors. They work together under this program. We've used them in the past. Mideast is offering to write the land use plan update at no cost to us. If we will sign an agreement that says, and you have the agreement, you have the letter attached, it simply says, if we're awarded, we're asking RCCP to match us with Mideast and RK&K, because we have used them before. So that's what's requested. We're not required to update our land use plan because we don't have zoning, but it would be beneficial planning exercise. It's no cost to us, and it would help several of our municipalities who are on that plan and who are out of compliance. So we're requesting that you approve the attached resolution supporting the application and the letter, that we will be paired, requesting that we be paired with Mideast and RK&K if awarded. And again, there's no local match to this, so this is simply funds we would be able to use that are available from the state to update our plan. Thank you.
Got a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any questions, Brian? All right, all those in favor, raise your right hand. Thank you, Brian. You want to go to item number 3 under your part?
Yes, sir. So this is also with the Resilient Coastal Communities Program. This is a Phase 3 application. That too is open. We've been through this process before, and we've gone all the way to Phase 4 construction. Since we have the plan in place that was established in Phase 1 and Phase 2, we're now eligible to apply again for one of our projects. This one would be the Essential Emergency Services Operations Redundancies Plan. The Mideast Commission has said that since they submitted that last time, they would do it again at no charge to us, and there's no local match required. So you have the resolution that would allow us to move forward with submitting that to see if we get funded for executing that.
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
And a second. Any questions, Brian? All right, all those in favor, raise your right hand. Thank you. Next item is the proposed amendment to the planning board membership, and Brian, you're going to take that?
Yes, sir. So at your last meeting on March the 10th, Commissioner Richardson asked that there be an amendment to the planning board membership be brought back to the board for consideration. When the planning board was originally created in November of 2000, the board approved a motion to appoint 1 representative from each township and 1 at-large for a total of 7 members. That Commissioner Richardson was asking that requirement be removed so that I guess all members would be at large. An amendment to the planning board ordinance will require a noticed public hearing before the amendment can be voted on. So we would need the board's approval to notice that public hearing, because it is going to cost us money to do that, and then bring that back at the next meeting for a public hearing and then a vote.
Okay, we got a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
And a second. Discussion on the recommendation. Okay, all those in favor of the recommendation on the public hearing on the amendment to remove the...
This is just the public hearing. This is just for the public hearing. Not the recommendation just for to have a public hearing, right?
Yes, yes. I'm sorry. I didn't read the whole recommendation. For the public hearing.
Okay.
Okay, stand corrected. All right, all those in favor, raise your right hand. Okay, we're down to the break, so we'll take our break and we'll be back in 15 minutes. Okay, Brandon, we're back from our break, and the first item is the ethics conflict among commissioners and school board members. Commissioner Richardson.
Okay, well, I just want to make some comments. I don't necessarily want to get into an in-depth thing. The county attorney has addressed the issue. She says it's entirely subjective in nature and independent to the commissioner. So I guess what she's saying is it's self-policing. The ethics is self-policing. So, you know, and there's a lot of truth in that up to a point. But what we need to be aware of, and what I found out in going through this, is while we sit up here and pontificate and claim that we have an ethics policy and all that sort of thing, we really don't. There's no enforcement. It's for show, and that's all it's for, to make the public think we're honest. The state has an ethics commission, and that ethics commission, the statute defines who is under it, and it's about 7,000 state elected officials and employees who are in various positions. And you can make an ethics complaint against those. They have ethics rules, and the state will go out and try to enforce their ethics rules if you make a complaint on the state level. But the State Ethics Commission has absolutely no authority once you get outside of those people who are defined by the statute. So you go back down to commissioners and you say, well, you know, there was a law that said that we had to have ethics. And, you know, guess what? There is no enforcement within that law. Who do you complain to if you have a violation of the ethics policy that the county has passed? And the answer is there is no enforcement. It's just to make the public feel good. And that's all that it's for. And that's why the county attorney could make this statement in here that says it is subjective in nature and independent to the commissioner who is voting. So you can basically, you can do whatever you want to. Whatever you think is honest and just and fair, you can do. Now that brings us around to some things that have happened in the past where you get into these things and you wind up. At one point, there was a municipality in this county that was telling people that if Hood Richardson's name was on the map, we're not going to approve it. You're not going to get any permits. So I went to the lawyers, and the lawyers looked at it, and they came back and they said, we can win the lawsuit. There's no question we can win the lawsuit. But government lawsuits end like this. When you win this lawsuit, they may pay us your cost to us for winning the lawsuit. But the fine and the punishment for doing what they are doing is usually going to be $1. So we advise that you handle this politically. Consequently, I have handled it politically, and I will continue to handle it politically on that particular issue. That's the same issue with ethics and county commissioners. Even though we have these 7 or so pages that the magnificent Institute of Government has prepared, and we enacted them exactly like they gave them to us. There is no enforcement. It has to be handled politically, and that's what we need to do.
Okay, you want to go to the next item, the Chocowinity Industrial Park?
Well, what are we going to do about the Chocowinity Industrial Park? We keep talking about the Chocowinity Industrial Park and how we're going to go about getting the zoning changed so that we can attract some industry. I mean, this thing's been sitting there since like 2008, and it's really zoned to the place that you're not going to get anybody come in there. Really, any company that's screening this is going to see it. That's industry is going to, first thing they're going to see is light industry. Zip, they're going on their way. You didn't get any consideration. So we're wondering why this thing hasn't developed. And unless we get the zoning changed on this, it's going to keep doing what it's doing. I know that the manager says that we have prospects, and I hope those prospects pan out. But the truth of the matter is, we've had prospects now since 2008. So you're still going nowhere. We need to take some action and go back to the to the town of Chocowinity and have a heart-to-heart discussion with them. And if we can't get them to agree to zone this heavy industrial, all of it, then we need to go to our elected officials, and we need a bill in the House and the Senate to reverse when we had the special legislation so that Chocowinity could take that and it could be rezoned. If the legislature created it, the legislature can uncreate it. And we need to get back to looking after the people of Beaufort County with jobs and industry instead of pretending to them that we're doing something like we do on ethics.
Do you want to make that in the form of a motion?
Well, I can. I'd like to hear some other commissioners before I would make a motion. Does anybody else have anything?
I'll tell you what. I'll make it in form of a motion, and then I will say I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think it's very important that if we're going to have 277 acres on Highway 17 South, not far outside of Chocowinity, it was never in the ETJ when it was approved to go in years and years ago. You and I voted against it, 2006. But I have found that with gas, natural gas going to that property, with the railroad being on the backside, with us talking about finding funding for a railway spur, and yet it is zoned light industrial when actually it should be zoned heavy industrial. I don't understand the argument for it being anything other than heavy industrial. I cannot fathom why the town of Chocowinity wants to turn it into a series of small shops. It doesn't make sense. Now, the county owns that property. We, as a body, even though we didn't vote for it, this body allowed them to rezone in 2006 as a special amendment at the General Assembly level. So it is my opinion that Hood, you're right on point, and we need to do this. We need to do it urgently.
Any other commissioner?
I'll second your motion.
Can I get a wording on the motion?
Yes, because there was a whole lot of talk there. Motion to request that Chocowinity rezone the industrial park south on Highway 17 to heavy industrial.
Okay. And
I'll second.
And you've got a second. Any of the commissioners have a comment? Okay, all those in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. Those opposed? Okay, Hood, you want to go to the college funding on the ICE issue?
Well, what I want to put out to the public is we're seeing a lot of this ICE resistance across the United States, and what the community college did is they went and hired an immigration attorney, took it upon themselves to become very proactive on a national issue that they don't have anything to do with. They took on a social issue, and they did the same thing with LGBTQ. So what we're looking at when we see these two things combined together is a very liberal management and organization out there. So my question is, how much county money was used by the college on the ICE issue? And that is a motion that we make that request to the community college. And where did the funds come from too, by the way? Are they county funds or where are those funds coming from? So that's my motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it. They'll probably say it's from foundation funds.
Okay. Any comments, questions?
Yeah, I kind of have to agree with Hood on this one. Why is the community college getting in between ICE and people that are here illegally? I don't understand that. I mean, I can understand that the foundation took it upon themselves to finance residents of Beaufort County who are here illegally, which sounds like an oxymoron on its face, but I can understand why they would want to do it. The foundation being a separate organization, although it's called the Beaufort County Community College Foundation. However, having said that, I think we need to know where that money's coming from. I don't want to be a party to that money being spent as county dollars for defending people who are here illegally.
It's my understanding that it's not, the college is not defending individual students. The students are asked to come to the president's office if they're approached without any advanced knowledge of ICE being on campus.
Sounds like a defense to me, coming to the office of the president.
No, you said defending them.
Well, that sounds like defending then.
No, well, defending to me is you're going to court and you're defending.
Well, I'm not thinking about court. I mean, ICE doesn't go to court. They just pick you up and haul you off.
Why did the president hire an attorney if he wasn't going to court and defend them? Was he going to have a birthday party? Is that what he hired an attorney for a birthday party?
I'm assuming it was to make sure that he was doing the right thing under the state statute.
Well, I don't understand why he took it on himself to think that it's up to him to be involved with anything that's federally illegal. Why is he getting involved in illegal activities? Why did he feel the need to hire an attorney? What has he done that we need to know about other than to push the LGBTQ issue? What's going on out at the community college? The public needs to ask themselves this.
I'd like to also mention this 10th Amendment that allows the federal government to do what the federal government does and the state government to do what it does. And the state government is not set up to provide anything that's alien to what the federal government wishes to do. If the federal government wishes to enact the laws of the United States of America, it's not up to the state of North Carolina to decide we're not going to do that. So I think what you say about staying within the parameters of the state of North Carolina doesn't hold water.
I think what the president's trying to make sure is there's no liability on the community college that comes back to the community college that they have to defend. As you well know, they operate with federal and state funds both, and county money. So it's not just a county issue, it's federal and state too.
How will there be liability?
Well,
what has he done? What has he done that's illegal that he's concerned about?
No, I'm talking about what happens to that person on their campus and the liability for whatever happens to the student, whether they're illegal or they were born in Beaufort County.
Well, it's a federal issue. It's not even a state issue or a county issue. So, he has nothing to do with it.
Well,
it's a federal issue. Why is he trying to cover himself up other than couple this with the knowledge that he pushes the LGBT community and it makes you think that you've got a Biden operative running the community college?
To my knowledge, he is not pushing anything out there. Their policy allows various clubs to meet, and that's within their policy.
I would ask the chairman, why are you taking it on yourself to defend somebody when you don't know what he's done illegal and he's already hired an attorney to defend him? What is your part in this game?
I just know Dr. Luke well enough that he's trying to keep the county, the state, the federal, everybody, that he's not doing anything illegally that creates liability. And he's well respected, and he's very knowledgeable, and I trust what he's doing. There's nothing in it for Frankie other than the fact that I think it's very professional, and I think you're taking some very personal attacks on the president.
No, I'm looking at behavior. LGBTQ, pushing LGBTQ, plus hiring a lawyer at the first sign of trouble when ICE is going to come to your campus and collect your illegal students. So, why is he so defensive? There must be a reason here.
Well, I don't take umbrage with the president. I'm sure he's a good man. But I do respect the Constitution of the United States, and the 10th Amendment is very clear. The state of North Carolina has its lane, and the federal government has its lane. And ICE is under the parameters of the federal government. And if you're here illegally, you suppose you cross the border illegally, regardless of whether the border was thrown wide open and it wasn't enforced. And even though the president, the former idiot president of this nation, enticed people to come across our borders with all kinds of promises. That's sad and it's wrong, but he did that. They're here illegally now. Now, there are laws in the United States that need to be enforced, and ICE is going to enforce them under this president. That's just the way things are now. So I don't think we should have anything to do of county monies coming in between the federal government and the state government and the county government. But we're out of it. We let the federal government do what the federal government does. The sheriff will work with ICE. I'm sure the sheriff will work with ICE. Won't you, Sheriff?
Yes.
Yes. So I want to know that we're going to work with ICE at every county office, whether it be state-funded partially or not.
Yes. Well, you know, and I understand your argument, but just answer me this question. Everybody that ICE has deported, were they really supposed to be deported? Maybe that's why they have an attorney.
That's not for us to decide. That is between the federal government and the people that have a problem that the federal government will deal with that. They will be the one that will be sued. The state of North Carolina is not picking these people up. It's the federal government. We're out of it. The 10th Amendment is very clear. The federal government will do what it does, and the states will do what they do that's unencumbered by the federal government. We're not supposed to get involved. We do not have we're not a sanctuary state. We're not a sanctuary county.
Well, don't you consider what you're doing as being involved?
No, I do not. I want us uninvolved. I just want to make sure we're uninvolved.
Okay.
Well, my motion, I move that we request that the community college divulge the source of funds, the amount of funds that have been used in their initiative to deal with ICE and to hire immigration attorneys. We need to know from the standpoint of whether county money is involved in this or not.
I'm going to vote to be uninvolved. Okay, all those in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. Those opposed? Okay. All right. Next item is a report from the Sheriff's Office on the fire at the jail. Scott?
Thank you, Chairman, Commissioners. First, before we begin, I'd like to say thank you to our men and women at the Sheriff's Office for the public work they do and the danger that we ask of them each day and each night while we rest. So that is what I would like to get out front. And to your point about the fire at the jail, we re-entered the jail in a timely manner, and in the air quality that was, the air quality was clean, all the air conditioning, all that was clean, and maintenance. A lot of painting took place while we were in downtown. A lot of maintenance through our local Beaufort County maintenance, and I appreciate the hard work Todd and his crew put into that. They took leadership in that role, and I appreciate that. Other than that, the report on how it was handled, how we evacuated our inmates very smoothly and timely, as the Commissioner noted. Sheriff Dance next door in Pitt County, her and I took a quick phone call, and she was very open to helping sheriffs, what we call sheriffs helping sheriffs. That went seamless, and in the details. So as the days went by, there was cost that we reevaluated, and come to find she was able to waive the fees for room and board. She was able to waive the fees for the food, and there are costs that we're still waiting for, is on the pharmaceutical, on the individual drugs that were issued out to the inmate, and that's forthcoming. I followed up with her on Tuesday, and it's still, as of the end of Friday, had not been collected, and a value has not been placed on that yet. But it is, I owe Ms. Orr with the county an answer, and I'll get that just as quick as we get it. I see the second part. Did I answer your question?
Well, that's part of it. I'll follow up when you finish.
No, go ahead, please.
Well, okay, how much of the cost is going to be covered by insurance, do you think?
And that, I think the wise thing would be to allow the county manager's office to, and his staff to answer that, because as far as cost,
I'm happy to address that. So you might remember as of July 1 of last year, we increased our deductible on our buildings to $50,000. I'm currently aware of $51,000 of cleaning costs that occurred as of today. So I do think once we get all the costs in, we'll have an insurance claim because it will exceed the $50,000. And you'll see a budget amendment from me at either the May or June meeting to amend the budget to account for those costs. I'm just kind of waiting to get those in before I bring that back before the board.
Okay, the items allowed, you know, this fire started from someone who took batteries. I'm going on rumor mill now, so that's why we're here, so you can get me straight. The fire was started by someone who used batteries in his cell to start the fire?
there was a tablet, what we use in our jails, an approved tablet. It's a educational tablet that is in place, and they did penetrate that tablet, break it open, and get the battery out. But to go in details on that.
I understand.
But it was penetrated and used.
So the battery story is true. I don't really need to know the details other than, but that leads me to another question. What items do we provide these inmates with? Now, keep in mind, we've been through this many years ago where we found out there was a lot of babysitting that went on in the jail in order to keep prisoners happy. And so what are we providing prisoners with in jail now to keep them happy?
Well, we do have television monitor that does show educational and selection of what either educational or natural environment, like PBS type channels. But we do go outside of that scope at my discretion. And we do provide these tablets that provide a educational and spiritual type of training that is at no cost to the Beaufort County. But those are provided to them, and if they have the means to utilize those, which comes at a cost to them, it's just not free to them unless they can report that they're and can't afford it. But other than that, we provide paperback books. Then we go to board games of like chess and checkers are the two that we chose. And that's it.
Okay. What do you think about these tablets? Are we going to keep allowing them to be in the jail?
Well, until I get the report back, at this moment, they are removed from the jail. Until I get a report back from the vendor that we have the most durable and constructed tablet available.
Well, my idea about it is it's cost us enough money, they need to go. I mean, when people start misusing things like that.
Yeah, and I share that same thought. But until I can get a solution from the vendor, then I'll reassess that.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you, sir. That was number 5. Number 6.
Oh, yeah. How many people has ICE picked up from your jail since you've been here?
None.
Okay. Have you found people that they should have picked up and they just didn't pick them up? I know if they don't have time, they don't necessarily get them unless it's a really, really big deal.
No.
We haven't found any. But
well, that would be that. No.
At least a third of those people in jail are suspect. Do we screen for ICE?
We don't do any screening. When we make a lawful arrest and bring them into the jail,
right?
They're fingerprinted, and that system that the fingerprints are uploaded in has the same ability through, whether it be a Washington Police Department, or whether it be.
You're saying it goes to ICE, ICE has access to it?
They do have a same access as any law enforcement.
So if they're not picking them up, it may mean that they're not screening.
I would, that could be the answer. I just don't have, I don't have an answer why they're screening or not screening, or I don't work for ICE, so I don't know.
Yeah. Well, you did separate yourself from the federal. You know where you're supposed to be, unlike the president of the community college.
Well, you never know what they're doing. I just want to make sure that I'm following the laws that are.
Well, I have a motion based on what the sheriff just said. I move that we contact the ICE Charlotte office and that we request that they start screening our inmates for illegals.
Second, but I'd also like to make one comment. Sheriff, thank you so much for understanding that your job is to protect Beaufort County and abide by the laws, general statutes of North Carolina, and whatever ordinance we give you to follow, you do that, and that you do not stand in the way of the federal government and what they have to do when they have to do it. And I thank you for that.
Thank you.
I guess being a military man, you understand how to take rules and regulations seriously.
I do.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion. Did you second?
Of course I did.
Okay. Any discussion, further discussions on the motion? You're asking that all of our current inmates be screened.
No, I'm asking ICE as a routine matter, screen our inmates. If they're not screening our inmates, we're requesting that they do screens that would include Beaufort County inmates.
Yes.
Sheriff, let me ask you this. How many of your inmates in there are Latino?
I don't have that demographics yet.
About 40%.
Thanks, Sheriff.
I got it right here in case you'd like for me to read the names off to you.
Are you sheriff?
No, but you're asking a question. He said he didn't have the answer.
Well, I want it from you. I want it from the man that ought to know the answer. And he'll get it back to me.
You're making our sheriff look bad.
I will.
No, you're the one making it look bad.
I can get that.
But what I'm saying is this. Everybody, when those people come in your office, they're screened like any other person, aren't they?
That's correct.
And I appreciate the job you do. And one of my colleagues said a few minutes ago that the feds got a line, the state got a line, but he refused to say that the county has a line. And our line is not to tell you how to do your job and tell you to screen inmates. That's you know what to do according to your.
I'm not going to screen inmates.
Thank you.
You're not going to screen inmates for what now?
You want me to tell you hepatitis? I'm not going to screen inmates. What we're going to do is going to submit.
But you do screen inmates for hepatitis because you got a nurse over there. They take blood samples.
I want me to tell you that, but I put their fingerprints into the computer, and they're in a database. And within moments, if Washington PD were to call me and say, "Do you have this suspect in your jail?"
I want to be real careful about something here. If you suspect that someone is an illegal, you don't send anything special to ICE. You just let it go.
There is a procedure for that.
But you don't do it.
I don't go out and seek that.
Well, my opinion is you should be a lot more aggressive than you are in protecting the people of Beaufort County from the illegal criminal.
Well, I'll take that. Thank you.
Sheriff, just continue to do your job to the best of your ability, and don't allow people to get you sidetracked and go off on these tangents. I mean, continue to do what you do. When you fingerprint them and enter them into the system, you have done your duty. So don't look to do anything extra. Just do your duty and continue to keep on keeping on. It's just that simple.
Well, I'd like to say something. I mean, we don't need to obfuscate the issue. It's not the sheriff. The issue is the motion on the floor. The motion on the floor is that ICE be made aware that we would like them to screen for illegals. This is not about the sheriff at all. The sheriff is doing his job perfectly. He puts the He uses a database that he's been provided. He puts in the fingerprints, and it spits out the information. We're just asking the Charlotte office to pay attention to Beaufort County and have them removed.
Yeah.
That's it.
Even though that motion
I
failed.
believe the sheriff is doing his job well.
But he said that he deliberately does not screen for ICE.
No, but he's working with the data, the database, and that he's.
I want my
he
sheriff
trusts.
to be more aggressive in rooting out evil in Beaufort County, frankly. But never fear, I will be in contact. I will be in contact with ICE for you as a commissioner, so you don't have to worry about it. I'll fix it.
You're the one going to make the motion and pass the law. I just want to.
I already made the motion.
Yeah, actually, it's just a recommendation coming from the county. That's all it is. It's a request. That's all these resolutions.
I know what my boundaries are, and I've met that.
Yeah.
And you're doing a good job
Very good.
of it. So, okay, anybody else have a comment?
And if you'd like to know what the demographic breakdown is in our jail,
I don't need them.
you can look at Beaufort County Sheriff ENC, and there's an app there.
As long as you don't have me in there, I'm fine.
Well,
Okay, all those in favor of the motion, raise your right hand.
I thought we had voted on the motion.
No,
No.
Okay.
Those opposed?
and I'll continue to enforce the laws like I'm doing.
I think you should. I think you should do more enforcement than you are doing. Don't worry
That's
about it,
all right.
Scott. Don't worry about it.
You ain't got but one vote, go.
Okay, your last one is on the school construction commissioner.
Oh, the school construction is practically a moot thing. All I want to point out is what's been going on is illegal. The school board nor the county commissioners have done anything they've been required to do under the general statutes. And in the use of the county's money and the taxpayers' money, all this board has ever voted to do is to write checks. We have seen no plans. We have approved no construction. We have not been involved in this at all. Neither has the public. So this is another government disgrace.
Okay, S.W. Snowden discussion?
I had a question on that.
Yes.
I keep getting asked, has anybody determined who did the title search for the property at the school? Mr. Manager, you know? Okay. I keep getting asked that question. The public wants to know who did the title search. So if we can find that question, that'd be great.
Since you brought that up, I put toward a motion, and you voted for it, thank God, that we get that title search as a body, and then we could disseminate it to the public after investigating it ourselves. I mean, the public paid for that title search, but I will guarantee you that money came from county dollars. And because they did not have the title search at a timely manner, they decided to build a $52 million school at the lowest point of the lot on land they did not entirely own. And then this group decided to spend $500,000 rather than trade land to get the schools out of the hot water that they put themselves into because they did not get the title search to begin with. You guys don't think it's a moot point. I'm telling you, the public does not think it's a moot point. And I think you should re-examine where you stand. I know your wives want you to believe that it's a moot point. I know some of your Democratic constituents believe it's a moot point because they like to spend all the money they can spend. But I can tell you, those people that are affected by this reevaluation, the people affected by this reevaluation, they don't feel that it's pitiful. They feel that this is their money going out the door. So a title search would be nice.
All right, Commissioner Dunn.
Yes, sir. So I put this on the agenda before the mayor, Williams, asked to come up to speak. So my concern, and I asked this back in February during the planning meeting, what's the likelihood of Snowden being closed down? And, the whole thing is if they drop below a certain number of students at the school, then the state quits paying for the principal. Well, that's fine and dandy. How much is it going to cost us, the county,
to bus those kids to Chocowinity? How much is it going to cost the county to put in mobile homes at Chocowinity Elementary to house those kids? Because Chocowinity Elementary, I don't believe, can hold them. I think Chocowinity Middle School can hold the kids that they have. I was told that the Snowden used to have a pre-K program. Well, if they brought the pre-K program back in, would that keep their numbers back up to where they would be able to sustain the enrollment and not the attendance, as I was told, the enrollment numbers that the school would be able to sustain itself and move on? Now, Aurora has lost so much stuff. They've lost the grocery store. They've lost the bank now. You know, and let's be honest, if they lose Nutrin, Beaufort County's going to dry up and go away. So, you know, the school system needs to do something better than look at just, we're going to close Snowden down. So what? So now we're going to close the school down and move them because you might have to pay the principal's salary. You got a principal and an assistant principal there. Do you need both? I don't know. But what's going to happen to all those teachers and the school janitor people and the lunchroom people and the custodians and everything? And how long are those kids going to get on the bus and stuff? I meet kids getting on the bus every morning at 6:15, getting on the bus, going to school that doesn't start till 8 o'clock in the morning. What time are kids in Aurora going to have to get on the bus to be probably trucked to Southside and then get put on another bus to be pulled into Chocowinity Elementary or the Chocowinity Middle School? And, you know, the logistics of the whole thing is absolutely ridiculous. How much money are you going to truly save by shutting down a school that is an integral part of the community? You know, I've said it before and I'll say it again. The worst thing our school system done in Beaufort County was to do away with community schools. I'm a graduate of Bath High School. We had Bath High School, we had Pantego High School, we had Bellhaven High School, we had Chocowinity High School, we had Aurora High School. And those are thriving schools. I went to school and my typing teacher taught my mama. The librarian went to school with my mama. The meat lady in the lunch line was my grandmother. And if you messed up, your mama knew it before you got home. Okay, you didn't have to worry about going home and telling mom you messed up. She already knew it. You close down Snowden School, Aurora's going to dry up and go away from here. I know a couple of years ago, the school system was offering a $10,000 bonus to have a math teacher go to Northside. Are we offering any bonus money for teachers at Snowden School? You know, where are we getting our teachers from? Are they quality teachers? We need to do everything we can to keep that school open and not bus our kids 2 hours down the road to go to some school that will be overcrowded when they get there. And I've said this before, we have done everything in the world for Washington kids and Washington schools, and when was the last time we did anything for Chocowinity? When was the last time we did anything for Aurora? And yes, we built Southside, but we built Northside too, and we built Washington New School, we built P.S. Jones, we built John Cottontail, we built all the new schools have been built in Washington. And we have this body of water running right down the middle of us that precludes us from being able to do anything about attendance lines or anything else. But every time we shut down a school, it ruins the community. And the Snowden School is an integral part of that community, and it needs to stay open no matter what anybody else at the school board says.
All right. Well, let me add to that. Go ahead, Stan.
Well, I just want to say, Commissioner Dunn, you are involving yourself in school board business. I think they call it oversight, and I appreciate you for doing that. This is not a popular issue, shutting down Snowden. The mega school here in Washington is not a popular issue. It's not a popular issue here in Beaufort County. And we're spending, so far, $10,500,000. We're losing a school. We're losing 3 schools to get 1 mega school. Am I right? Pretty much. The whole concept of community schools is gone. But we're going to have a mega school where central authority will be able to manage how these children will be not only taught but indoctrinated. And that concerns me greatly. I see problems in our education here in Beaufort County. I see it across the state, and I see it across the nation. The unions have too much control, too much power, and there is a foundation of support towards making public schools not only larger, but centers of central command for whatever political class any group wants to gain and control. Now, in North Carolina, we have school choice. That's going to break that up. And you guys are against school choice. I understand that. But I'm for school choice. I think you're for school choice. I think you're for school choice. We're going to lose the ability to manage, just as you said, by increments, by knowing what's happening, because we're closer to the students by having these mega schools. And I'm telling you, with all the money being spent, if we don't see the school scores go up like a rocket, you guys have made a terrible decision, because everything is based on that. That and our kids getting shot up, which is probably never going to happen.
Any other comment? Look, I agree 100% with everything that Tandy Dunn said. He is right on target with what he's talking about. But let me show you the lunacy of this whole idea. What the state law says, with all due respect about the principal thing, is a lot more detailed than that. What the state law says is that if you have less than 100 students, the state will pay for a 9-month principal. They will not pay for a 12-month principal. And so the principal's making like $110,000 a year or something right now. So you're probably talking about $30,000 in cost. There's no way that you will ever bus those kids from Aurora to Chocowinity for $30,000 a year. The school board is doing what they have always done. They're making a very subjective political decision based on the latest thinking about cramming a bunch of kids into a school so they all become like a large chicken pen, chicken coop, which I'm very familiar with, and then you can start indoctrinating them. Mr. Dunn hit on the essence of education, and that is that it's in the community. I went to the same kind of school. If I messed up at school, my mama knew about it when I got home. It wasn't, everybody knew what was going on. The parents were close to the kids. The kids were a lot happier. Look at your drug problems that you've got in schools. All of this stuff is handled a lot better in the community than it is with some superintendent from California by way of Illinois and through another liberal state coming down here with a school board that sits on its hands and doesn't do anything other than what he tells them. And that's what's going on here. The closing of the Chocowinity School is going to be a terrible event for that end of Beaufort County. When the school was moved out of Belhaven, up on the hill there at Hell Swamp, on US 264 and Seed Neck Road, you saw the town of Belhaven literally shrink, because people who came to Belhaven to pick up their kids would also shop in Belhaven, see the doctor in Belhaven, do all kinds of things. But when they moved it up on the hill, they had no longer needed to go to the town of Belhaven at all. That was another political decision that was made virtually overnight, because I fought to keep that school in Belhaven. But the Democrats showed me. They built it up there. Now, this county, we've heard in here tonight about the county being split. This county had an opportunity to not be split when that bypass that's over here could have been built over there. And the Democrats and the liberals and the Rhino Republicans voted it down so that they could show that they were in charge, that they do not care what is good for the benefit of Beaufort County. And closing the Aurora School is something that we need to put a terrible fight up on to keep open, because it is our last way that we can show these liberals in education that somebody knows more about education than they do.
Yes. I just have one simple question, and I pretty much know Tandy's answer because he's a working man. But Hood and Stan, have y'all gone before the Board of Education and expressed your views and all the solutions that you have for them?
We've expressed views and solutions.
No. I asked you, have you gone
Yes, the answer
before
is yes.
the school board? So,
Yes.
If you remember, since you addressed me on that, if you remember when you guys voted in lockstep in center-left coalition, we had 5 members and we only had 2 members on our side at that point. Tandy wasn't on the board yet. But when we thought that the mega school built, which we didn't really need, we thought community schools would be more important. We thought maybe the money that we could get later for all the schools in Beaufort County would be more important than just getting money for a mega school to be built at the lowest point of the lot, and that on land that they didn't even know that they did not own. Was a bad. Well, no, we spoke at that meeting. You guys did not speak except to say you're doing a wonderful job. We spoke against it. We were heard. We were heard by the superintendent of public schools in North Carolina at that time and our representative. We spoke against it. You guys spoke for it. There were only 2 people. They had cheerleaders in the room. They were, I had all the teachers there cheering, had pom-poms out. Nobody cheered for Hood, Richardson, or Stan Deathridge, and we were right, and you guys were wrong, working as a center-left coalition, where you guys swap votes to share power. Now, I'm telling you right now, if you think we don't advocate for what we believe, we advocate, and we are both working men. I got 3 jobs. How many jobs you got, Hood?
At least 3.
Okay, there you go.
We're talking about Snowden. We're not talking about the school here in Washington.
Well, no, you spoke carte blanche about do we advocate and go to the school board.
Snowden, Stan.
No, you didn't say Snowden.
Well, gentlemen, as you well know, there's going to be a hearing, and I would encourage you guys to go there and speak on behalf of what you think it should be. The only thing I think the public needs to know is that when we discuss the budget and we get into the school budget process, we're gonna find out and we're gonna get a request, and I guarantee you that nobody is going to want to approve the additional money that it takes to operate the schools all over the county.
Wait a minute. How do you know that? How do you know that?
What do you mean?
Have you been having negotiations and discussions with the school board? Then why are you making that statement? Where did you get your information?
How many times have you looked at the budget over the last 10 years? Every year they've asked for more money.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's going to come.
Every year you voted for it.
And it's going to come. No, I have not every year, but it's going to come.
Yeah. Well,
so you guys will continue to play a game and make everybody think like you're all for the schools. You're all for the schools. But when it comes down to funding the needs of the entire county school, which includes Snowden, I want to see where your vote is. If you really vote to support Beaufort County schools.
All right. Since you brought up that, so I'd like to speak to that for just a very quick moment. $500,000 is a lot of money where I come from.
Yes.
$500,000 that you guys spent that didn't need to be spent, where we could have swapped land. Swapping the land would have gotten the schools out of the hot seat they had put themselves in because they don't know how to manage things. So we could have swapped that land, but you thought $500,000. Now $500,000 would go a long ways towards keeping Snowden open right now. So don't talk to me about us not spending money. I want to talk about you misspending money.
Okay, we've talked about misspending money and everything else. Is anybody else got anything to say before we turn it over to Dunn, Commissioner Dunn, to talk about the ABC board?
So last meeting I discussed the ABC board and my disappointment in their lack of what I thought was not doing their job. And I talked about not doing training, not doing license checks and things like that. And I was invited to go to their board meeting, and I attended it, and I was welcomed into the meeting. They allowed me to speak, allowed me to ask questions. They were very open at the meeting, and what I found is I was misinformed of what their duties and responsibility of their officers were. They have one full-time person and one part-time person, and quite honestly, with what their duties were, they probably need more than that. If anybody had any qualms or concerns about me bad-mouthing them, I'm here to say I was wrong. I think that the officers are doing exactly what their job is, which is to act as basically security guards. They respond to calls at their facilities when they are broken into, alarms go off. They respond to days when they have their unique alcohol sales, which is something that is apparently happening a lot. I saw where people were complaining that certain people were getting to buy some of that unique alcohol, and I do not believe that is correct. I think that the alcohol is being distributed to the locations, and people are lining up for hours to come in and buy some stuff that I ain't never heard of in my life, because like I said, I bought more liquor before I was 21, and I've been in the liquor store here in town once since then. So I'm here to say I think they're doing a good job. I was impressed with what they do with what they've got, and that's where I stand with the ABC board.
So you're happy, okay?
Let me ask Commissioner Dunn a question, if I may.
Yes.
Why do we get that report every month with the amount of money that's spent for liquor in Beaufort County, and by the way, it rises at least 5% month over year, month over month, so liquor sales are doing very well in Beaufort County. But why do they give that enforcement report that the page is blank on?
And that's where I was basing my question or query in. Those are actually functions of the ALE office. They can, in fact, participate in some of those functions if asked or if they see the need to, but because of what they're having to do, they have to make money drops when the money gets to a certain level. And like I say, they're kind of doing some hand sales over there. And I look at some of the prices, and I'm glad I'm not an alcoholic, because there ain't no way in the world I could afford some of those liquors. And some of that stuff's pretty expensive. And I don't see how I could spend that kind of money on something and then drink it away. But yeah, we get that report because it's part of the system, and it's easier to just print that report out and it show it.
So why is it blank every month?
Because they're not doing those functions, because they're not.
What is ALE as opposed to ABC?
ALE is the state board, alcohol law enforcement, and the county guys are ABC officers. They function basically as the police department for the ABC board.
Tandy, thank you so much for going. I mean, you came up with a problem, you went out and investigated, and then you saw that you were a little bit wrong, and you apologized, and I appreciate that. We have so many issues where there's so much wrong said, I don't even want to weigh in because I don't have that kind of time, but I wish more people would come back and apologize like you just did. Thank you.
Okay, we're down to Bright Speed discussion. Commissioner Deathridge.
I'm going to pull Bright Speed in lieu of the late hour. I've got some things going on with that, and I don't want to talk about anything in public at this time. But
all right.
I am going to go straight to resolution support of Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE.
Will you just
finish speaking? I have the floor, please. I want to go straight into resolution in support of the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE. Since I have the floor here, you've given it to me, so I would like to continue.
I've just got a question.
Yes.
Since you added a paragraph, will you just point out
I didn't add the paragraph. I sent it. It was not put into the book, but I read it when I read it that night. It's an email that I sent to the county office. For some reason, it didn't get put in it. So I have to bring it back up.
Okay. But since it was passed before?
Yes.
Will you just point out the one paragraph? It appears it's paragraph 3.
Is it paragraph 3?
Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas the political class of these United States have roundly proven to be completely incapable of governing of the proper and prudent administration of the public's assets and the public's treasury, and...
Okay, you want to make a motion just...
To add that paragraph?
Yeah.
Yes, that's fine. I could read it all if you'd like.
Oh, in the essence of time and the...
Okay, the late hour?
Yeah, just make a motion.
I make a motion we include that and any other changes I may have made, which have been sent to the clerk.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All right. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor of the revise with that one additional paragraph in there?
And any other, as my motion was.
Well, we had agreed any of those other little minor changes.
All those little minor changes that were sent to the clerk as of this month. Yes,
Okay.
sir, I will go with that.
All those in favor, raise your right hand. Those opposed?
Okay.
Okay, we're done. We don't have a closed session. We're down to commissioner comments. I'd like to make sure that everyone's aware, former Commissioner Ron Buzzio passed away. I think it was on Friday of last week. So ask that you keep Judy Buzzio and the rest of their family and their services coming up, I think in Richmond, sometime around the 15th of April. So I've got the obituary information if somebody would like that. But do keep them in your prayers. Okay? Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
And a second. Okay, all those in favor? Thank you, gentlemen.